You are now listening to For All Nerds Show, a podcast about geek and pop culture from the perspective of people of color. For All Nerds is hosted by DJ Benhameen and Tatiana King Jones. For All Nerds Show is a member of the Loudspeakers Network, where we always say rest in peace to our founder, Combat Jack.
For All Nerds Show is powered by our listeners. Everything we do, from our podcasts, live events, our website, are all independently funded. Please continue to support us through our Patreon page at patreon.com/forallnerds.
Welcome to the Fan Bros, the show where the bros are fans. Doodle.
And hello and welcome, y'all, to the Lack of Us podcast. A podcast covering The Last of Us from the perspective of people of color. Where our motto is inclusion is revolution, and we are powered by the one and only For All Nerds. And as always, for the first time ever, it's your boy, DJ Benhameen, here in the captain's chair, a.k.a. Cordyceps Rex, a.k.a. Holy Shit Joel, a.k.a. Smoking on Indonesia, a.k.a. Clickerbait.
Wow.
And as always, also for the first time on the Lack of Us podcast, yes, I'm joined by
Tatiana King, aka the Grand Duchess of Tech, aka 4 Spores and 7 years ago, aka For Us by The Last of Us. And that's all I got this week. I'm gonna have some more next week.
that's pretty good to start it off. Good to start it off. And also, for the first time ever on the Lack of Us podcast, our first guest ever on the Lack of Us podcast is a returning guest from For All Nerds. So I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Rod, aka Rodimus Prime, aka my historically black academia, aka Black Reacher, aka Chief Keith Wiggum, aka Oxtails of the Jedi, aka the Cordycepticon. And of course, I gotta bring back the classic Semi-Auto Octavius. What is going on, my fellow nerd?
What is going on?
Yo.
I was gonna go with Cordycepticon too, but
That shit went like, wait, but you said Semi-Auto Octavius. Wait,
yeah, that was a classic.
One?
That's a classic.
And wait a minute, Chief Wiggum one? What the fuck,
Chief
bro?
Keith Wiggum.
I love that. You're amazing. You know I love you. That was cool. I like that.
It's all mutual, man. Four scores.
4 Spores and 7 years ago. And what was the other one?
For Us by The Last of Us.
There we go. And this is, as if you haven't realized already, this is the Lack of Us podcast. And on this one, we will be discussing the first 2 episodes of The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have not seen either the first of those, get ready for some spoilers because we are going all the way in. But you probably have seen these episodes because this is a monster hit for HBO. I honestly did not expect it. I mean, I knew the game was big. I personally have never played. I played like 5 minutes. I think I played like 5 minutes of the first one. And I was like,
I played nothing.
This shit
don't
be depressing.
Period.
I was like, this shit going to be depressing. I'm good. So that was the end of it for me. I know our guest Rodimus has played both games, I think.
Oh, I played both games. I go back and play them every year, a couple times a year. I love it.
Oh.
Wow.
So you are very firmly acquainted with this.
Oh yeah,
property.
these are 2 and if you count the like prequel thing, this is like 3 of the best. This is the best storytelling in video games right here. And I know it's dark and all that and scary, but really it's at the heart, it's a story about empathy and understanding other people's point of view. So it's the difference between vengeance and empathy. And it's a game. I play it every time and I cry at the end every time.
Damn. How would you, as a story, how would you put it against? I know it's different type of story, but you said it's great in storytelling. So what about something like God of War?
Yeah.
I think it's better to storytelling than God of War.
What about Spider-Man?
Very close. Like the first Spider-Man, especially, it's like neck and neck. And Miles' story, it just needed to be a little longer, but it was also on your neck at the end. So
it was on your neck, but no. Like I said, I've not played The Last of Us, and I keep hearing that. But whenever people say that it's the best ever, I'm like, But hold up, dog. That because God of War and Spider-Man were the the first 2 games that ever made me burst into tears.
Yeah.
Spider-Man multiple times. God of War 2. There's moments
that made you cry immediately.
Yeah, there's moments in both of those games throughout the games where I lost it.
I can't wait to follow the series through the eyes of people who haven't played the game, because I think right now they're just thinking it's like The Walking Dead, and
it ain't.
As it progressively gets more emotional and more like deadly, it's gonna really be beautiful to watch y'all go through it. I guess it's kind of like how book readers felt watching us watch the Red Wedding and shit.
Right.
I fully believe it.
That's how Portia was. She was like, y'all don't know nothing. Y'all don't know.
Man. And
every time.
I really wish I'd been able to record myself, because I didn't even know that was the episode, nothing. I was just sitting there like, do on my couch. And when that shit ended, I'm sitting there by myself, sitting on the couch, staring at the screen like.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of a show like this, especially when it's so well done. And again, I've never played The Last of Us, so I have no background in this, but not having any background, I'm clearly seeing it with different set of eyes, fresh eyes. Even though you've played it religiously, Rod, this is also fresh eyes for you, because live action is something totally different. Even though it may be the same story, the things I've been hearing that some of this stuff is shot for shot, word for word, bar for bar, it's still different. And more often than not, you get horrible video game adaptations than you do the good ones. It's only been in fairly recent history where you've seen things that are good and they're like Sonic. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like the live action heartstrings real. And I love Sonic, by the way. But I'm just saying, like, kind of that real, like, hit you in your chest type of stuff that has worked.
And it's dope, too, because, like, Neil Druckmann is heavily involved with the video game and the show, which is something we normally don't see. Like,
you usually see the opposite. You see what happened with The Witcher.
Exactly. Someone buys the IP, and then next thing you know, they changing everything, and it's like so different from the original creation that it don't give you the same feelings. And sometimes the liberties they take are just like, you're like, why would you even make that decision?
Right.
It's dope to see him be involved in the decisions that are changed, so he could. Like, he's like, oh, this is part of my original vision, or this is building on my original vision. And the first 2 episodes so far feel like that. It feel the way they changed how it spreads feels like, oh no, this is an evolution of his vision, instead of like, when you watch the original Super Mario Brothers movie and you're just like, did y'all even play the game? Well,
hell no. Hell to the no. I mean, Street Fighter, you can go down the line. When it comes to
Kombat.
The classics, they were all good and terrible.
Bruh, I still remember watching, because I'm such a nerdy fiend.
Yep.
I went to the theater and watched
Me too.
Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li.
Oh, you went hard. No, by then I'd given up.
Yeah,
that was a movie?
Yes.
It was so bad.
Yes, it was.
Me and Karen, me and my wife sat in the theater, and at some point we just started counting how many people walked out. Like, we was like, okay, that's 8. All right. And then about 5 minutes later, 2 more people give up. I was like, it's the last of us in here for real.
I saw that joint on, it was like 10 minutes left on cable the other day, and I still didn't watch that. I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm not even giving y'all 10 minutes. All right, but back to The Last of Us. The first 2 episodes are, the first one is When You're Lost in the Darkness, directed by Craig Mazin and written by Craig Mazin and the aforementioned Neil Druckmann. The second episode is Infected, written again by Craig and Neil, and this time directed by Druckmann himself. Yeah. So,
Okay.
all right, I'm gonna say this, right? The first 2 episodes did not all the way blow me away. Right. But, like we like to do on this, we like to talk about the things that we like first. Right.
Correct.
So the first thing I'm going to say that I did love about the first 2 episodes were the cold intros to both of them. I thought them shits were absolutely perfect. Like,
yes.
I mean,
you got everything you needed about the characters right away.
The world, the circumstances they're in, their obstacles, what their past is, everything. It was impeccable. Like, the second one in Smoking on Indonesia was, very short and still gave you everything you need. I got to give a big shout out to Christine Hakim, who played Dr. Ratna Pertwee. I think I got that. She is the woman who the government comes and gets and then tells them to bomb everything and can I please go home to my family because she knows it's all coming to an end. And her performance, everything about the way she couldn't put that teacup down, she's like shaking, trying to put that shit.
I was shaking with him, my nigga. Like, dead ass. I was like, oh, I don't think we're gonna make it. Like,
it's tight out here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, her performance, and then also to go back to episode 1, and I know y'all will have more to say about this, but I want to give a shout out to Nico Parker, who plays Sarah Miller, Joel's daughter, in the first episode. A star in the making, a fucking star in the making. Because me personally, I hated Ellie in the first episode. I hated her so much. I hated her in the second episode too. I started to like her a little more in the second, but I hated her.
Yeah. And Nico is Tendiwe Newton's daughter.
Yeah,
so because she looked familiar to me, and I realized that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she is a beast because,
good.
Nepo baby or not, she's a star in the making.
She got skills.
And I like to see more brown Nepo babies all day. So,
Yeah. I'm with that shit.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it all day. So, no, impeccable. And, how do y'all feel about it?
I agree with you 100%. Like, I came in with no expectations and was just pleasantly, I don't even want to say surprised, but I was like, it was a pleasant intro in terms of a not so pleasant story, a not so pleasant place, a not so pleasant world. But the fact that I got what I needed right away, I got the information that was required and necessary, and the story is moving forward. And that's one of the things that I typically have that big hurdle to get over when it comes to new shows, or in my case, new IP, when it's just like, I don't like drudging along and doing these side stories and side quests and things like that. Like, if I want to do a side quest, I'm gonna play a game. I want to watch and put me where I need to be, tell me what's important, and let me go forward. And doing it in a way where, like, they were dropping, as you're going on, they are dropping hints and context clues all around the characters. And there is lots of context to take in if you just open your eyes and watch. And even on your own, even without being guided, you're gleaning a lot of detail from what you're seeing when it's done right. So that's a sign of great writing. That's a sign of great cinematography. That's a sign of great direction. And I got all of that and more within the first 5 minutes. So once that was said, I was like, oh, we're good. This is going to be a show that I'm going to enjoy.
And it's, for me, like, the main thing I took away with it, one, how much of the homage they played to the game. Like, when you play the game and then you like watch that opening series, you're like, oh, they took it serious. Like, it wasn't no shortcuts. The cinematography, like, you could go shot for shot with some of that stuff. The way they made us fall in love with Sarah, like, watching it, knowing what was going to happen to her, and like, because when you know what's going to happen, it's almost like you prepare for the blow. You're like, oh, I know what's going to happen. But like, the way they took their time and like really made her a fully fleshed out character, and then you lose her, it's like you feel Joel's pain, and then like the next time you see him, the next episode, and you're like, oh yeah, that man has no heart no more. Like,
that man's the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
like, it's a wrap.
He lost too much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's not going back. He's on that Cassian Endor. You know what I mean? Like, no attachments, nothing. So, that was cool. I think also just pacing. Yes. That was the thing I was concerned about, because a lot of times when you have something where they're like a video game, to me, video games are the best form of storytelling we have left, because it's the only storytelling where you literally can live through every minute of the journey. Mm-hmm. Everything else, you can't have no 20-hour movie unless you have a camera. But for the most part, you gotta shorten it down. And so, to me, it was like taking this video game and cutting it into like 9-hour-long episodes can work, and it can really flesh out the story. But like, you don't want to live too long in it. Like you say, you don't want to feel like you're doing a side quest. And so, just the way people was like dying, the way like certain characters, it wasn't dragging it out. I said, okay, so y'all did not come to play with us.
Not at all.
And so I'm very excited for the series. And then the last thing I'll say also for what I like, the clicker. Like because the clicker is different. You know what I'm saying? Like we've all seen enough zombies, but like the fear of God that the clicker puts into you in the game, dog, because they can't. They like it's like trying to get around Daredevil. You know what I'm saying? Like
it gave me the Quiet Place vibes, and the Quiet Place is one of my favorite films because the way it uses silence as a weapon. And that clicking, that the echolocation, like all that stuff, and like being a dork and knowing all the science behind it, I'm sitting there, like I said, I was like the doctor in Jakarta. I was just like, you need to bomb everything, like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's visceral and how that shit feels. And just one thing I wanted to go back when you were talking about Sarah. Funny thing, Rod, DJ Benhameen spoiled it for me. He was just like, as we were talking, he was just like, oh, this is spoiler alert, but you know, he said it mad casual. This is spoiler alert, but his daughter dies in the beginning. And this was before I watched episode 1. And I was just like, okay. And I didn't think nothing of it. But then as I'm watching, like I said, first 5 minutes, I was like, oh, I like this shit. Then I said, fuck Benhameen, because now I'm mad that he's showing me this shit. But when it happened, I was still like, damn. Like it still hit me. And that's how I was like, you know what? This is on a different level, because even though I knew it was going to happen and it kept repeating in my mind, I was so mad at this nigga. But as I knew it was coming, I didn't know how or in what way I would even fucking feel about it. So when it did occur, for them to have me so emotionally invested in them that quickly, and then everything happening in and around them, and you know, of course, with all the pomp and circumstance, planes falling out the sky, niggas running all over the place, but it was that one through line of, these people that you care about, that you met 10 minutes ago, are now going through it.
Yeah, and you and the thing is, even if Ben wouldn't have spoiled it for you, as you're watching it, you feel the impending doom of like, this girl is too beautiful and precious to live in the world we're about to see.
Yep.
It was so heartbreaking. And like even the close call of like when the truck crashed because of the plane. Like you almost expected her to die then, like, oh, and then she like, oh, she did not. Okay, cool. So they about to escape.
Yes.
When they get it, you just like, oh no.
And
when it happened, I was like, that's it. She got the bad one.
And also in my defense, I mean, we're talking about like a 10-year-old video game, and in every
I never played, Ben, that I never played, never read about, never learned
called
about.
The Last of Us. You know, it ain't called The Last of a lot of us.
I mean, there's
only always two people in every image you've ever seen in this game. Well, there's always two people.
But I mean,
one white dude, one white girl.
There's no defense for you. I understand that. That's right in the posters too, right? There's no defense for you ruining it for me. But to Rod's point, that's how I knew. I was just like, she's too precious. She's not gonna make it. Same thing I feel about Tess. I was just like, this woman's too gritty and too bowed and she ain't gonna make it. That literally, as soon no more than 30 seconds passed when she was on screen acting like the fucking $1 million baby in the boxing ring, I was like, she's not gonna fucking make it past episode 3.
Now see that one.
It's also the thing with Tess that was so dope to me, because she like in the video game she's cool, but kind of the same thing, like you lose her, you know, kind of early in the game. But like it was the way they made that character feel. Like she felt like she lived in that world, and then the transition subtly when she gets bit and start acting different, and you can tell like she got hope and like we have to do this now. Like she stopped, and you like, why she acting so? Oh no, oh no,
it was the same realization.
Yeah.
Now, okay. Now, like I say, in my defense, and also with Tess, like you know,
being on trial.
Yeah, I know, right? Already.
I forgave you, Ben. You don't have to defend yourself.
But also with Tess, that was the one, because I'm sitting there watching it myself, and I'm like, hold on, man. It's The Last of Us. There's always two people. How the hell is she on this mission, too?
She ain't gonna make it.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, well,
she ain't gonna be there.
I was like, she made it through the first one. Ain't no way this shorty making it through the second episode. Because I'm like, I know this game. I've never played it. But I know he ain't trying to protect two people. You know,
I thought they would stretch it out more, because, like, you know, like Walking Dead would have stretched it out more.
Yeah.
Nah, he went to the George R. R. Martin School of Direction. Kill them now. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you like them?
I don't know if y'all heard behind the scenes, but Neil Druckmann and them, they said they actually had filmed her a whole backstory like a family and everything. And they was like, for the purpose of the story, we cut it out and it just kept it moving. And I was like, yo, y'all really are about
ruthless.
it.
Yeah.
But now I want to see that now.
Yeah,
and you still might. You still might. You still,
will.
you still might in like different ways, because I think they're gonna keep bringing Tess back and flashbacks and stuff like that. But the other thing I wanted to ask you, Rod, is because going back to Sarah, right? I was in love with her just like everyone else will be, and I knew she was dead. You know, I knew it was coming, but I didn't know how. And so I'm sitting there every second. Once shit started going down, when she walked into the house, I was like, oh my God, I know grandma ain't about to eat this little girl. I was like, this show can't be that grimy. And then she gets out of that shit. And so then I'm like, okay, they let her get out of that, so it's gonna be some horrible, grimy shit. Yep. And so the truck, I was like, nah, she good, because that ain't grimy enough. And then when dude showed up with the gat, I was like, motherfucker, this house going down.
And so, you know, you see how purposeful that is, right? Like, it's not the fucking virus, or excuse me, the fungi that gets her. It's the humans.
And that's
it's us.
Right, see, now, all right, Rod, I do have this question I want to get to, but that before we get to that, that's one of my big, so up until, you know, at first, that was one of my biggest gripes with the show. Because I've seen, I'm a big zombie fanatic, right? I'm a George A.R. Romero, you know, like, that is one of my film gods. You know, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn when they're in the mall is one of the illest joints to me that people don't get, like the original Dawn. And even, that's the one Zack Snyder film that I really like, is his remake. So I'm big zombie, all 28 Days Later. I was buying The Walking Dead from the moment it hit the shelf, et cetera, et cetera. So I've seen all this, I read all this, and it's like a lot of the stuff in the first 2 episodes, I was kind of like, I've seen this. Like, even though it was well done versions of it, I've seen the person get bit. Like, as soon as she got bit, I was like, oh, Tess is bit. Especially when she started acting all crazy. I'm like, I was like, she bit. Done. And then, you know, her whole, my ankle, you know, all that. I'm like, whatever, you know. So I've seen stuff like that. I've seen and one thing that I hate, and I hope that the show, I mean, I already know, because I've seen a little bit more already, and so I know what they're going to do. But one thing I hate is the idea that humanity is always the worst, right? A problem I had with this show, with the genre in general, right, is that you will see a lot of people getting shot in the face because they're zombies, or in this case, they're clickers or whatever. So you've seen a lot of violence against humans, you know, that it's kind of just excused, and that's one thing. But then my other biggest problem is with this genre and a lot of other genres that we see on TV is they are shows about men trying to save the world from themselves. While like Joel isn't the problem in this one, he is a man, and it's, you know, this is a man-caused problem. Like, men caused the world to get hot. You know, the cordyceps took over, so now we got to save the world from ourselves. And zombies are usually a worst case of that. This isn't as bad, but what I do hate when a lot of people go back to zombies, and this is why I hate that Dawn of the Dead, is humans are always the worst problem. And I want to see cases of, because what has been proven throughout history is in natural disasters, et cetera, like that, humanity helps each other far more than hurts each other. So I want to see that, and I hope we do get to see that, where not every person you come across is the hater who wants to kill you. Is Negan or the governor or et cetera down the line. And that's something that I hope this doesn't. But
would that make for good TV and story? Because there's no... there'll be conflict against the situation, but if everyone's in harmony and working together, is not
everyone gonna be in harmony, because not everyone's in harmony with no damn more zombies. Of it. But I just want to see some people, and I know we do. So I'm not, you know, completely. This show has already shown me that you know, it ain't all about that. So
I think the other thing too is through the eyes of Joel. Joel has a history in this world, because we fast forward like 10 years or 20 years.
20.
And so a lot of this shit is gonna be him running up on people that's like, this motherfucker. You know what I mean? So like, he got to get over that in order to even get back to a level of like cooperation with people. So it just, the world will feel lived in. But yeah, eventually, you know, I think you'll see some groups that have bonded together to survive. But you know, I think almost every story, you start with the like struggle so that you can appreciate what them people went through when you see him and you like, y'all got hot water? How y'all do that? Like,
y'all got bread?
Yeah.
Is this a Ritz cracker? I know this ain't a Ritz.
like when Tess seen that chicken and she said, "Is that chicken in that?" Girl,
she got real
chickens over there with the fireflies.
Might need to get down with them.
Yeah, she's like, listen, I've been smuggling the wrong shit. I'm gonna smuggle some of them chickens.
She was eating that nasty ass beef jerky was what she was eating. But you actually made a name, a set of name, Joel. That's one of the things I liked. Pedro Pascal, like that man. Once again, he's a chameleon in acting for sure, and he brings it when it comes to emotional investment, and he has the range, like. And especially with this series, I'm seeing so much more of him in what he doesn't say versus what he does say. Like some of his more impactful moments are when he's not saying a fucking word. He's just motioning, or he's, just looking at something or looking at people, or just the way he carries himself gives me so much story for the characters. It gives me so much story as an interaction with the other characters. And he's one of the best, really. And it's so great to see him in so many different properties and many different, facets of his personality too. But like, I really like him here.
Yeah, it's like you're watching a man that's broken and his solution is to try to never be attached to the world again. Like we literally watched this man try to fade away on pills and alcohol, halfway through the episode, because he's just waiting out his time to die. The only thing he cared about died 20 years ago. It's heartbreaking when you see him throw that little body in the grave, where you he's carrying it like he carried his daughter. And you're just like, this man is gone from this world.
And he does it with ease.
Like the other person's like, I can't do it. He's like, give me that sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
That shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that about Pedro and just how he's playing it. I really think the Mandalorian kind of prepared him for that, because it's kind of the same idea of protecting the child and trying not to get attached, and then you can't help yourself, and now you got to go out there and kill everybody in the world to protect the child.
Yes.
So he's got that vibe, and you can already see the connection between him and Ellie, where it's like he don't want to have a connection with her. He's fighting it as hard as he can. He's like, this is a product that I'm smuggling that I'm not gonna get attached to, and you're just like, I can see the wound opening back up.
I see it. You saw it at the end of episode 2, or was that the end of episode 1, where the soldier was at the wall when they got out, and he had that. I mean, clearly it was very precise, because they were like, this looks just like how it looked when he was carrying his daughter. Yes, but for him to almost have a redemption right there, but then of course take it too far, but have the redemption like, I didn't do this before. It ain't gonna happen again. I'm gonna beat this nigga's ass. You know what I'm saying?
Ellie to react like she was activated.
Yeah.
She wasn't scared.
His daughter was too sweet for this world. When he shot that old lady zombie, she was on some like, why did you have to do that? Why did you do that? And that's like, girl, y'all would have been dead. He had to do that one. But Ellie was on some like, hit him again.
Ellie was like, it's up. It's up. Like she was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Ellie will survive in
holy shit, Joe.
Like it's the instincts that are counterintuitive to how to survive in our world currently.
Yes.
Unfortunately are exactly what you need in this brutal world.
Yeah.
So like her being like, oh shit, okay, so we beating people. It was like, oh man, they are going to be a problem, because 2 motherfuckers that's willing to do anything for each other that's the scariest thing on the earth.
Now, I will say, like I say, I thought that was a little bit weird, that she was,
I was looking at her face. She was like, I'm kind of excited, but I shouldn't show it. I saw the conflict in her head.
She was trying to get a better look and shit. Like,
she's like, that nigga really did that.
Huh? Yeah, like she's leaned in, like, oh, word, okay, all right. But that was a little weird for me. But I will say that I loved Ellie in the second episode, where she was like, let me get a gat. Everything is about, let me get a gat. I need a gun. I need to be able to lay people down.
We don't have time to be 14, unfortunately. We have time to survive. And that means give me the blicky, let's go. You know what I'm saying?
In a world where we watched a kid get put to sleep forever, like she ain't trying to go out like that. And her existence has been one of like not having parents, then being in school, but she gets when she gets bit, everyone's treating her like like the enemy. Like, we know you about to turn into this thing. You about to turn into something. And so her experience hasn't been like a child that we would know. So of course she like, give me the motherfucking gat. What are we doing? Like, like I love when she was talking shit back to them. Like, I love that shit, because I was like, it's the days of polite is over. Like, it's been 20 years of this shit.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben.
No, and that's all she knows too. And that's something, like I said, it took me a second to really, for Ellie to grow on me, I'll say. I think it was also, but it's also because of how the audience, and this is intentional, like I was watching the director Guzman afterwards talking about the showrunner, and he's talking about how Sarah has to be the character that you fall in love with immediately, and they have to be so different. Sarah and Ellie have to be completely different, because Sarah's this character, like you said, all sweet, innocent, all light and hope, and Ellie comes from a very dark place. And so it took me a second, and also I was just mourning the loss of Sarah, just like Joel is. I'm sitting there like, God damn it. And now I got to deal with this annoying little kid, when I had this great kid over here, fuck this bitch, But then by the second episode, when she said,
fuck them kids.
Yeah, but she was like, all right, I'll just throw a sandwich at him then. I was like, oh, no, okay. I can fuck with me some Ellie, because this girl going to get the gat.
I think also it's important for this story, like, you may end this story not liking you still may not like Ellie when they get to the final conclusion of the final end of the story.
Yeah.
So like, and I think that's like cool. I think that's dope. Like, I think sometimes stories do so much. They so concerned with the audience, like having to root for the character on some that they almost not human. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And especially when you have a girl character who's in an action situation. For the most part, people just are like, it's a girl doing action. I love her. And I'm like, I like that she kind of a dick. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yes, of course.
One of the things that kind of fucked up Game of Thrones was that Arya was too likable. So then it made it to the point where you start hating motherfuckers that you're not supposed to hate. Like, the script writers didn't want us to hate them people, but we was like, they in Arya's way, so fuck them people. Fuck them people. You know what I'm saying? And I think, they were more aware of that with this game and hopefully with this series of like, nah, sometimes you're gonna look at Ellie and be like, why the fuck did you do that? And other times you're gonna be like, but I love that little girl.
Right. And that's better characters, right? Because that's people I know in real life. Like, I have best of friends who I'm just like, you're such an asshole, but I fuck with you. You know what I mean? I'll do anything for you. Like, I love you, but God damn it, what's your problem? And that's how I feel. I totally agree with you on that, Rod. Like, I like that idea of being even conflicted with your camaraderie or otherwise with Ellie, because it's just like, you're going off the deep end a little bit, but it's also like, but I understand.
It ain't a world for the night. It's like one of my pet peeves that I don't like in shows is where they make people likable in situations where it's so unrealistic. Like, I don't know if y'all remember, it was Nicole Behari's TV show.
Ichabod Crane and all them niggas
or something like
Sleepy
that.
Hollow,
Yep.
And Ichabod Crane, the white dude in it, is like from the past, and he comes to the future. And he's like the wokest white man from the past of all time. And I'm just like, but y'all didn't have to go that far. I wasn't gonna turn on the character if he would have been like, Negroes.
Niggas.
Yeah. What the hell is going on? Like,
is that a nigga trying to tell me what to do?
Like, even a black person from the past that came to the future would have been shocked. You know what I mean? It's not
niggas in charge.
Who the hell is the president? What?
What?
But yeah, they made him so woke that it was like,
I mean, Ichabod come from like 1400 something, right? Like that nigga is definitely whipping slaves.
Come on, man. Like, he would have, like, minimum, he would have walked by some slaves and not said nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Minimum.
And instead, they had him being like, wow, these men in chains. I'm like, oh, get out of here.
That nigga's like, fetch me my slippers.
Yeah. Give me a sandwich, Negro. Like, but yeah, it was very. So, like, I like when shows don't try to make the person too good.
Yeah.
Then I feel like the person is a real person. I like Joel being the dude that threw a kid's body in the grave it make it feel like, yo, this man, now I know how low this man has gotten.
This man is down bad.
It's down bad.
Like the baddest of all bads. Like he is not doing well. So
It's
I get it.
Like them inspirational posters, you know, when they have like the one word on them, like it needs to have a shot of Joel. It's like all of that shit.
We're gonna do that meme. I mean, but it makes sense, and I think that's like what all of this is saying. It makes sense. We saw, I guess, as quickly as I attached myself to Sarah and Joel, and to see him break in front of me, I saw the psyche breaking. I saw the emotion, the heart. I saw his whole soul break. So when they said 20 years later, and they clearly still alive, I'm like, oh, that nigga's gone. He's you know, he ain't, he's a shell of whatever you thought he was. That's somebody else.
Watched him die. You know, what do y'all think about the way that they're doing the cordyceps, like the way that it activates the clickers and the zombies and shit, where like if you touch it in one place,
right,
it communicates like in a hive mind to them to come attack you.
Yeah.
As opposed to in the game, it's like airborne.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to ask you. Thank you for answering that. I was going to ask you how that work.
I knew that in the game it's more spores, because they even have those things like that puff up, and because they mentioned that right at one point.
Right.
Ellie's like, do they have something that puffs and blows up? Right. That's from the game, right?
Yeah.
I love that she said that, because I was so excited. I was like, oh, we gonna get to see it.
So Rod, in the game, it's an airborne situation where if you get in contact with the spores, then you become. I wonder if it was too OP for a live action world.
That's what they said.
That's what I'm thinking. It's too overpowered. Like by OP, for people who don't play games like that, just something that's so overpowered is like, okay, this is kind of ridiculous. We need to nerf it a little bit. So
that was part of it.
I'm wondering.
In the game, of course, you know, logistically games work by taking you to certain areas and then cordoning you off so you can play within that area and then take you to another area. So in the game mechanics, it's like, oh, you just went into the subway, put on your mask. You can't breathe air down here. But obviously in real life, it's like, I mean, as we know through the pandemic, if you're in the subway, you can get it. And if you're in a restaurant, you can get it. It doesn't really make sense that you would only have one area where airborne spores were. Yeah. So that's why they changed it. But I thought it was interesting, the idea that you can like trigger by just like not watching your step. You just step on some fucking mushrooms.
And that makes sense. Like if you look at nature, like you look at things like sleepy grass, that's in the Caribbean a lot. The grass where you touch it and it literally like, they look like little plants that like cower when you touch them, you know? Micellar networks, like how all of this shit really works, you know, the real science and nature behind it, like that shit is fire to me, because I was just like, okay, this is actually plausible, and it made sense. And then to me, it adds another layer of danger, because it's just like, all right, no, it can't see you, but that nigga can hear you. And then if you tap on the vine too hard, it's a wrap for you.
And Rod, to answer your question, I loved it as well. And it's also one of the things now. Now I'll say this. I mean, this is not anything about it, but I've seen the third episode. And everywhere any character's walking, I'm like, hold up, wait.
Watch out.
There ain't nothing on the ground. All right, you good. Okay,
listen,
keep going. You good.
Okay, your boy was, when they was coming up them steps, because like, see, that's
when
the
she
thing.
Stepped on that nigga's arm.
Damn. In the game, it's not that scary because you just put on your mask. And as long as you don't like hear or see anything, you know, you can like run around, do whatever you want. With this joint, I was like, go up them steps slow, baby. Look, watch it. What's that?
Yeah.
It's like when they seen some that was like dried out, and I was like, okay, so you can step on the dried out ones. Okay, right. Like I was nervous as hell, man. That was such a good change, man.
Yeah,
it worked.
Because throughout the third and now throughout every episode, I'm gonna be before the characters. I'm gonna be that black person in the theater. Like, hold on, girl, no. You know,
yeah, you gotta be that. I mean, and that's the point, right? Like I'm sitting there and I'm watching. I couldn't even I wasn't able to log into my computer, so I'm on my little iPhone screen going like this, you know, like in terror. And the fact that you could do that on a fucking 6-inch screen, you know what I'm saying? Like I could barely see what's going on, but I am in terror. That means you have a powerful story. You have a powerful way of portraying the danger and the true stakes at hand. And that shit is masterful to me. Like that shit is amazing.
I know it was an artistic choice, but one thing I didn't really like was the one cordyceps that like kisses Tess.
I was gonna mention that.
Oh,
I didn't like. I know it was a poetic choice of like Joel knew that he couldn't kiss her because he has that long stare when you can tell that he's like it's going through his mind like she's infected, she's about to die, she's gonna sacrifice herself. I love this woman. I can't kiss her because I'll get it and now I'll die. I gotta go. Then the cordyceps comes and kisses her, and it's like I know y'all thought that was like deep. I know y'all.
That's not deep.
No, everything you said I got, but it was still gross. It was still fucking gross, and I know, like, to me, that's also that ends up, and that's on the side of things that I don't like about genres like this when you start getting in the tropey side of stuff. And for me, tropey also includes grossing me out with the worst things. Like, I'm sure there's subset of people who love that shit because they was like, look how nasty that was. It's on some weird it remind me of what's the anime porn?
Tentacle porn.
Hentai. Tentacle porn. Hentai. It reminded me of that. I was just like, grossed out.
It reminded me of like the vibe you were supposed to get when, remember in Alien when Ripley against the wall and the fucking mouth come out and then they're like
about to kiss.
Inside dick mouth thing comes out. Yeah. You're like, God damn, like you in the theater backing away in your chair. Yep. That's how it felt when I was like, no, Tess, don't. And she's struggling with the lighter. Like it definitely succeeded in being like a tense, gross scene. But I'm gonna be real, I didn't need it.
I didn't need it either. That's a personal choice though, not because it was a bad scene. I just didn't. Like honestly, she could have just said "Hasta la vista, baby" and blew everything up, and I would have been like, "That's just any motherfucking thing." I still would have been with it.
I was more mad because once again, it felt like tropey in a way that I've seen it before. Because going back to Alien, it felt like in Aliens when Vasquez blows herself up with Gorman to save the rest of them from the aliens. It's the same type of thing. All these aliens are rushing in. They got one last grenade and they blow themselves up. And at least Vasquez had a dope last line and tells Gorman he was always an asshole before she blows him up.
I think
it's classic.
I think in the game, Tess sacrifices herself, but she sacrifices herself fighting humans.
Fighting humans, yeah, she does.
But I guess they don't want to introduce us to like the bad humans just yet.
No raiders or slavers yet. They're coming.
Not yet. Coming.
Before we get too deep into the stuff we didn't like, one more thing I wanted to say that I do like, and Rod, please tell me if this is either again word for word, bar for bar from the game or otherwise, but the dialogue. Like the dialogue is on point, it's sharp. It's biting when it needs to be, it's soft when it needs to be. It's just enough, right? It's in the Goldilocks space where it's just enough. It's not too much snark, but it's not too subdued either. And that also leads me to the one line or the series of lines that the doctor says in Jakarta: bomb. And just like I said, I was already on edge with her. And I was shaking. I was like physically shaking. And then for her when he was just like, what are we supposed to do? And I'm like, nigga, there ain't nothing you can do. And she said, bomb. I felt again, another layer of terror. Cause I was just like, they gonna nuke the world. Like, I was just like, my mind just went to another level.
I'm glad they didn't tell her about COVID. You know what I'm saying? Cause like, she probably would have been like, bomb. You know what I mean? Like, she seemed like the type not to play them games.
She wouldn't because this is a virus. She wouldn't. She wouldn't because this is
I don't know, dog.
Nah, fam.
She seemed like a fatalist. Like,
no, she said. No. Remember what they told us in that very first scene? Remember when that first doctor said? He said it was a virus, some other shit. We can handle that shit. We can't handle no fungus shit. That's what he said.
He said ain't no vaccine. I feel you. I'm just making.
They said, my nigga. They said 14 niggas was missing. Once they said that, I said there's no patient zero. There's 14 patient
zeros, dog. It was.
What do you do with that?
I love it. And then also there's like a history in that country of like the government like snatching people up. So even in the beginning when they came into the restaurant and you see the other patrons like,
they was like, oh shit.
They snatching people up. And then in the car, you start to realize, wait a minute, the soldier is as scared as she is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like she like, I ain't do no crimes, did I? He's like, crimes? No, my nigga.
Yeah.
I wish this was about some crimes.
Right.
Yeah. And hold on.
I have a question.
Like before we say, this country will snatch your ass up too.
Oh, of course.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Real quick.
Listen, if I was in a motherfucking restaurant eating a panini and the government soldier came in,
I'd be like, damn it, for real? Finally?
You see them get snatched up in all sorts. You see them get snatched up in Armageddon. Like, come on, bro. Like, they get snatched up any type of ways. The government, in real life, the government.
I'd be like, must have been something I said.
To pile on what Tati was saying too, in addition to the dialogue, the score. Like that music, that guitar strum, almost give me that Western vibe, but that somber, like kind of sad vibe too. And the guitar is going to be extremely important throughout the whole thing. It's a big part of the game too. But like seeing that somber vibe and that Western vibe, and then going with Joel's almost gunslinger like dialogue and silences and like pensive faces, like it just is such a perfect note that it's very compelling. That first episode's an hour and a half. That's a damn movie. And I just remember being like, oh, it's over?
Yeah, same. Before we get into the bad things as well, one thing that I do want to say, shout out as well, that I loved was the cinematography and especially the lighting. Like
the
lighting was silly. Like during the scene with the clicker, how dark it was, but how clear everything was, how beautiful and bright the clicker is.
I had no problem seeing shit at night.
Yeah, in
Game
all
of
that
Thrones.
darkness. All right, and then also the shot when Ellie opens the door to go outside for the first time, and it goes once again from darkness to light, and you see these buildings all toppled over and overgrown, and nature just taking back over, reclaiming everything.
Nature reclaimed its time. I mean, it's also playing with the themes of like the Fireflies, coming into the light, getting away from the darkness. What is light? What is dark? What's good? Bad? All that. I get all that, other shit, but like it's just beautiful to your point.
Even the way they move around the world is very much an homage to the video game too. Like the sneaking they were doing is very much like the game. The special effects they had where you're like walking and talking in the foreground, in the background you see all this dilapidated buildings and shit, and we're gonna go there at some point, all that. They just nailed all that stuff. Yeah, special effects, like and just I'll shout it out again. The fucking cordyceps, the clicker, the body, the way their bodies moved, it was just like the game, except scarier because it was real. Like it was like when he goes to fucking change the bullets in his gun and the camera pans down to his gun and then pans back up, and that motherfucker's around the corner, dog.
Yeah, and you knew it was gonna be.
You knew it was gonna be.
You knew it was gonna be, but that was such a great camera shot.
And I think your instinct, especially if you haven't been in this world before, would be like, but because Joel's so experienced, he knows. But your instinct is to scream, run, do something, and he had the presence of mind to turn around and be like, okay,
this nigga's right here. Okay,
right here. Just don't breathe, don't move. You're gonna go away. Like
that. I had one more question.
Clicker bait, baby.
Clicker bait. I had one question, Rod.
That's me.
Is it the same in the game that this originated in Jakarta?
So not really. Like there's a lot of stuff you just don't know in the game, and you read about it, you don't see it. So like, even if like it's possible that it could be something in there that I just haven't read before that said Jakarta, but one of the things about the game that's a little different in the show, and I get why they would make these changes because I don't think people had the patience for all that shit, but in the game, you're discovering the history as you play.
I see.
So like, instead of it being like Joel knows the types of clickers and all this shit, it's like you finding documents that's like, and at this stage, like you go to a hospital and it's like, we've been studying people infected, and first they're sensitive to light, and then at some point it messes up the ocular nerves, and now they can only hear, and at this point they can start to grow appendages and stuff. And so like you're seeing it, you're learning it through reading. I prefer this way where it's kind of like the characters know, and then we're seeing it, and then they're showing us shit that we just never seen before.
We're
like
just catching
this
up
is the day zero. This is really happening, and I love that.
Yeah. And the other reason why I'm asking is because I wonder if there would be any thoughts about this originating in an Asian country. And granted, the game came out before, and that's why I asked you, was this in the game? Because especially what's happened recently with COVID and, Asian Pacific hate and all this other stuff. I was just curious if that was
I
going to
think
potentially be
the
a
other
factor.
thing too is if you're
Yeah.
making a product like this at this
Yeah.
point that's centered around essentially it's going to be these two main characters who are white people. The tackling the problem of diversity in hindsight, it almost requires you to do shit like this. It's like, how are we gonna get some brown people in our story? We can't just make a whole story, because what you're gonna find out is everyone in this story is eventually a piece of shit, even the main characters. So it's not about like stereotyping or demagoguing other people. It's like everybody gonna get a chance to be a piece of shit. So if we include them in this universe, you're gonna see that. And so I actually thought it was dope because I don't think there's a lot of Southeast Asian people in the fucking universe of like in the, and for them to, I mean, that could have been a whole other fucking show. Like they didn't just like,
It really could have.
Yeah, they didn't just film it on
Still
some bullshit. It's like every character, every location, it gave it a whole real world feel. So I think diversity wise, you gave people a chance to shine, get some checks, and get on TV that probably any other show would have been like, it originated in Atlanta or some shit, and they would have just put more white people on the screen, and we would have been like, oh, I guess the white man put it up in the lab.
Who trips me out? How does this shit start in Atlanta? I see barely any black people.
And
keep in mind also, it's not blaming East. It's not a blame thing because it's global warming, man-made.
Correct.
And then it's the cordyceps, which is not something they fucked up in a lab somewhere.
Right. It's nature.
It could have been, it literally was the lottery. It could have been anywhere in the world. So it's not like those Asians, they always fucking up. It wasn't like that.
And also to answer your question, why the creators base it in Indonesia is because in reality, Jakarta has one of the largest grain factories in the world.
Okay.
Because
she said that was a perfect.
Yeah, it's top 3. Yeah.
What was the word the doctor used? She said that basically she was saying that's the perfect
incubation place.
Incubation place. Yeah.
So it's like top 3 largest grain factories and processing plants in the world. So it's one of the, it's going to go down.
Right. Yeah, substrate is the word you use.
Down there. All right.
Got you. That makes sense, Ben.
The way she did that math in her head so fast and arrived at it's over. That was so good. That was so good. Buddy really was like, he was like all of us. He was like, the first day we heard of COVID, it's like,
okay,
so what we do? We gonna take some Robitussin or something? What y'all got?
We gonna drink some ginger ale?
Yeah, they was like, no, nigga, don't get this. That's what you gonna do.
Yeah, or die.
Die.
All right. Getting into, because like I say, even though it feels completely different now. Because when I watched it, I was like, I don't know about this. But now distressing it, I'm like, well, there was a lot of things I did like. But what were some things that you haven't mentioned already that you did not like?
I'll just say the main one. It's a catch-22. It ain't their fault. But little black girl dying from getting shot by the motherfucker.
The cops. Yeah.
It did suck. Watching that girl gasp for air. It's just, like I go out of my way to avoid those type of videos in real life. So it was like, and it's also credit to her doing a masterful job, credit to the storytelling. But it's like, as soon as I saw that character, I was like, I know how she dies. I don't think I'm ready.
Yeah. No, I agree with you that I didn't need, it's not, you said not their fault. It's just how it is. But it was like, damn, I got to see this. I would just say, and even though I can't really call it stuff I don't like, the stuff I noticed because it was necessary. Like, this is the type of story it is. It's a apocalypse zombie / whatever you want to call it, the infected story, right? So there were lots of tropes, and that's why I got Benhameen's point where it's like, yes, this is well done, but it's still tropey. Like the first 2 episodes anyway. Yes. Like there was no dialogue, there was no written words. I knew exactly what's going to happen next. I was just like, and that one's going to die. This one's not going to make it. And the plane's going to start falling sky. Like everything that was happening, I foresaw. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that because, like I said, it's turning. The story still grabbed me, but I did feel like I can predict everything that was happening. Now that might change with episode 3, but as I was watching the first 2, I was like, okay, cool. And again, I'm not really sure that's such a complaint now as much as it is an observation.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. It really helped me seeing episode 3 because it gave me confidence. Oh no, these creators are gonna do a lot more than what I've seen them do in the first 2, which, like you said, was a lot of tropes. But even those tropes were so fucking well done. Because when that plane falls out the sky and that shit blows up on Main Street.
On Main.
Oh my God.
One light town.
On a two hotel town.
Two hotel town.
It immediately lets you know how much chaos has to be going around the world.
Yeah.
Because we're watching one small town.
Yep.
And there was multiple planes coming down.
Yeah, it's over for every city. It's over for it was just over for everybody. You just knew then, like, these people, there's not a chance in the world. That woman, when she said bomb, she had it right. And I love when they show later that they did bomb some shit. Like, they're like, watch out for that crater. I'm like, oh, so they listened to her.
They actually did that shit.
Just too late.
And it didn't have to have. She said most of them didn't even work. But yeah, and then I got a lot of vibes of other things. I had annihilation vibes, like especially when you see that. I call them the tree people, the ones that were covered in spores. They were dead at that point, but it's actually really beautiful the way that they did that. Like, that's a lot of work in terms of like the costume or the special effects department to do that. Like that was beautiful, to be honest. But it gave me the Annihilation. It gave me, I mentioned The Quiet Place. It gave me obviously The Walking Dead. Like, it gave me a lot of things that I've seen before and used to seeing, but still in a new way.
And stuff that was somewhat avant-garde 10 years ago when they came up with that video game. Like, it was like, oh, this different, you know what I'm saying? But since then everybody's built on that IP and they've taken ideas and they've done their ideas already. And so, and even, and Ben, I know this on the writing side, everything's derivative. Like, like ain't nobody like, it's so rare somebody come up with some completely new shit nobody's seen before.
No one does.
Yeah, we're all just picking like our favorite things and mushing them into a different, it's like making a pizza. It's like, I like pepperoni on mine. But I ain't invent the pizza. You know what I'm saying? I made you some I'm putting ribs on my pizza. Ain't nobody putting ribs on their pizza, but it's still fucking pizza.
It's still pizza.
So I think, the first couple of episodes is almost like world building to give you the rules of the world. And then we can really get into what the show is really about, which is the character and the characters' relationships to each other. That's where the show really takes off.
Yep. And I think that the difference here, well, not the difference. What it kind of reminded me of is how I first felt when I watched Andor, right? Because when I first watched the first 3 episodes of Andor, I watched them all at once, and I was like, I don't know. And then I got to the 4th episode, and I was like, holy fucking shit, what the did I just watch? And then I went back.
Shit, Joel.
And holy shit, Joel. And then I went back and watched the first 3, and I was like, oh, that's why y'all did it like this. Because everything is going to matter by the end of this. And then by the end of the season, every single character that they introduced mattered by the end of it. So I think that's perfect. I think it's one of the greatest seasons of television I've ever seen. Now, will this live up to that? I don't know. But
I hope so, because one of the other things I loved about the game is when you have sections where you're like killing mad people and they working in tandem, like they make it feel so real, because like you kill somebody, then you go hide, and then someone finds them, they're like, no, and like if they put that shit in the show, that'll feel so dope, because like so many of these shows, it's like you just kill somebody and they just be like, it's like the video game. It's like the other video games where it's like, and I'm resetting myself after 30 seconds. Like, no,
it's an NPC.
You would be distraught. That's your real homie that died. You wouldn't just be like, they got another one, John. Like, no.
John. So what happens next? Like, what are our predictions for episode 3?
Well, I think he knows.
I've seen it.
Ben knows. I don't.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna get charged. I'll just say this, because I'll say this, I didn't expect what they did in 3, and because I haven't played the game and I didn't know, and so there was a lot of it. I was like, wow, I doubt this is in the game, but I know I also saw how it could be in the game. Like you said, through the notes and the journals and stuff they find, and I was like, yo, this is what I wanted. This is so, and it's like you were saying, right? It's not that it's something different, because I've seen things like this before in other genres, but it was just super well done, and it was also something different than I'd seen in like The Walking Dead or anything in recent memory in a zombie type world.
It has its own flavor.
It had its own flavor and its own style, and I'll say that seeing episode 3, it gave me hope for the rest of the season and for the rest of the show. It made me like, okay. 3 made me like, all right, fuck it. You know, because before that, I was like, I'm going to do this because people have been asking us to review this show and stuff. And I'm slightly interested. And it's, you know, it's good zombie drama. And it ain't been good zombie drama in a long time. So I was like, I'll watch it. But 3 made me like, nah, I'm all the way in. I can't wait to see what's next. Like, I need 4 or 5 to give them to me. Yeah.
It looked like in the preview, we're going to see Bill.
Yes.
And Bill is such a dope character in the game.
Okay, so Bill is in the game. Okay.
Yeah. But you don't get like too much.
Man.
That's his homie. That's his homie.
That
man.
Because like I said, my man Joe been out here living the savage life for 20 years.
It's a lot of
So when he rolls up on Bill, it's not like
it's
my
the first time.
It's like, what you doing?
Like, what the fuck? What's up, bro? Yeah.
So like Nick Offerman, I believe, is playing him. So like, it's one of them castings where like you're like, he's gonna kill it. So I'm so excited for this. I know
bro.
I love Nick.
Yeah, it's for those listening, I'm just gonna tell y'all are in for some shit on episode 3.
Yeah. Well, I will say some predictions I have, again, being someone who has not seen episode 3. You know, obviously, and Ben, this is actually your note. More people are gonna catch the bad ones. We know that.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Seeing different species of infected. If this is going to follow any tropes that I know, you're going to see different types of infected or different configurations of infected. We already saw Big Brain, Pinky in the Brain over there. I don't know what we're going to see coming forward, but I imagine even when Ellie was saying things that, you know, they were brushing off, Tess and Joel brushing off, she said she said splits in half and you could hear like a bat. I realize now why they looked at her like, they actually do use those sounds. But I'm curious to see if they're going to show different types of infected and things like that.
Guarantee.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the same things, and I don't want to like pull from my game memory and end up spoiling some shit by accident. So I'm gonna just say,
don't say nothing. Don't say nothing.
Yep.
I love this. I'm like you, Benhameen. I'm all in. Cast is amazing thus far. Dialogue, everything about it that we've said, I'm with it, and I'm excited to review episode 3.
It's so the thing that people forget about with classics and tropes and all this shit is they're tropes because when they work, we love them.
Yeah,
like that's really like we haven't really invented a lot of new storytelling. If you do it well and you do it right, even when we kind of feel like we've seen it before, it's like you know what else I've seen before? Basketball. And I watch it every night because I ain't seen Donovan Mitchell get 70. So let me see him get 70 tonight and see how he do it different than Kobe did it or whatever.
That's a great analogy.
So I feel like that's what this is. And then I'll just put this out here in case y'all haven't seen it, in case other people, not to put another thing on y'all's list of shit. This is just a general, like, y'all don't need to podcast it or anything. If you're into this kind of shit, Black Summer was a dope ass zombie. It's only 2 seasons and they're only like 6 or 8 episodes a season, but like that's another one where I was like, oh, y'all different, like y'all do the zombie shit different. Okay, I love it over here. And so just throwing that out there to the fans and that are listening and stuff, like if you into this, I know y'all gonna fuck with that Black Summer heavy, because I thought I was all zombied out. And I watched it like 2 years ago and was like, this is the greatest shit in the world. Why isn't there more of this? And
is that the Japanese one?
No, it's a American one. It's like a prequel to some other like silly zombie show that I actually did.
Oh, World War Z?
Maybe.
No. World War Z is World War Z is the movie. No, I know the silly zombie show you're talking about.
I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, that shit was actually pretty good.
Yeah, but it's the prequel to that where they took all the like comedy and all that shit out and just was like, what if zombies was about that life? And it's just like, yo,
you talking about Shaun of the Dead?
No, it was a show. It was that skinny
Generation
dude.
Z or something.
Generation Z, that's it.
Yeah, it was like so it's like Generation Z throws you into the middle of this world that already got zombies and shit. Black Summer is the 2 summers where it is the summer where it initially had a break. The zombies initially broke out, and you go through like what people went through that first like 8 weeks, and it's just heavy, high octane action. Like it's and some. I'll just say this. It is not a spoiler. the finale to season 1 was like 20 minutes long. I've never seen no shit like that. Like every other episode is 40 minutes to an hour. The finale of season 1 is only 20 minutes because it's only action. It's just like it's just bam, 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 and then it's like, see you next year. You know?
Wow.
Yeah, they was about that life. So yeah, if y'all like this, check that out.
All right, good recommendation.
Yep. Also, I will say, like you just mentioned it, Shaun of the Dead is one of the greatest of all time. I haven't seen one of the Dead, but people say that's also great. And there's this Japanese one that takes place in like an apartment building. I saw last year. I saw the pilot. That was great. I think it's on Netflix. And there's also this Japanese one coming out this year. It's a film. I can't remember the name, but it's something of the Dead, like the Shaun of the Dead, One of the Dead. And it's about some like teenager who's trying to do his bucket list in a world that's filled with zombies. So he's like trying to cross all these things off his list. And they say that shit is beautiful and hilarious and all this. So
y'all seen Train to Busan?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, that's another one.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah, them Koreans do the zombies different.
Man, them Koreans do everything different.
Like, listen, it was some legit like action scenes where I was like, I don't think that person's okay.
No.
I don't think a human body's supposed to slam into glass like that. Y'all need to stop filming and help that person up.
Man, listen, after last year, I watched way more foreign stuff than I do American, especially for stuff that I really want to be like blown away by. But all right, this has been the first episode of the Lack of Us podcast, powered by ForAllNerds. As always, you can find us on all of the better podcast platforms out there, from iTunes to Spotify, pretty much everywhere, iHeartRadio, everywhere except Tidal. We out there. Just make sure you follow ForAllNerds on any of those platforms to get all of the goodness, including the Lack of Us podcast. You can also follow us on YouTube, youtube.tv/ForAllNerds. Search for ForAllNerds on YouTube.
ForAllNerds TV.
ForAllNerds TV. But if you search for ForAllNerds, we come right up because we popping. You can also follow us on twitch.tv/ForAllNerds, where you can catch us live. We're doing it live. In fact, we might be doing this live, the Lack of Us podcast, after every episode of The Last of Us. So 10 p.m. every Eastern time, every Sunday night, twitch.tv/ForAllNerds. Tune in, and you will get these reviews in your eye holes and in your ear holes. I'm your boy, DJ Benhameen. I'm joined by Tatiana King and our special guest, Rodimus Prime.
Rod, anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, Rod, let them know. Oh, I know you got some big things popping right now.
Yes.
So let them know why. I was just watching it on Thursday night, Man, that's, come on, man. You know. Look, I'm going to say this, because I said this, I think I said this the last time. And before you say, the last time I saw Bomani Jones, who we about to mention, I was sitting there and me and him had a goddamn love fest about Rodimus Prime. Both of us sat there and, for about 2-3 minutes, talked about how Rodimus Prime is one of the funniest Negroes we know and how we love this man.
Very nice of you, man.
Yeah, my Houston brother Bomani, what up, dog?
Sir, let's go. Texas in the house.
So
the one thing I had to say, I totally forgot when we were talking about what we like. I forgot to mention Marlene, played by Merle Dandridge, who also voiced Marlene in the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Shout out to Black Nut Cracking or whatever, because like they 10 years later, they was like, you know what? I think we already got our Marlene. Ain't no need. Come on in, sis.
Nice.
You can check out my podcast that I do with my wife, The Black Guy Who Tips, comedy podcast we do 5 days a week, but not so much now that I'm in New York. It's like a couple of times a week. And then check out our show. I'm writing for Game Theory with Bomani Jones. It's on HBO Max. If you don't got the HBO Max, somebody won't give you the password. It's all good. Wait till Thursday before the TNT NBA show. We have another version that's just for y'all. You know what I'm saying? A little censored version. We're not going to be cutting as much. It's going to be like some Mickey Fickies up in there or whatever we got to do to get on the air. But I promise you'll still enjoy it. And man, I appreciate y'all having me on. And, thank you.
Always. It's always a pleasure, Rod. Always.
Yep. You can also get our merch, any and all merch. We will be coming out with the Lack of Us design that you've probably seen already. If you're listening to this episode, you might have seen it already. But if not, head over to ForAllNerds.com where you can get all the different merch, such as the T'Challa and Friends shirt that I'm rocking right now. Tatiana is wearing the Mohawk woman on a motorcycle. You might know who that is. You might not, but that's all we can say. We got a new one. Not only do we have a Lack of Us design, we got a new design by Stitch Sawyer.
I can't wait.
Oh my God. I can't wait for y'all to see this one. Plus, we got another one by, I don't want to shout out her government names. I wanted to shout out her, Latina Scribbles.
There you go.
We got another joint dropping, another fire design. One of my AKAs coming to a design, shirt, mug, whatever near you. So go to ForAllNerds.com. Actually, it's just shirts. ForAllNerds.com. Yeah, we ain't at that other joint where you got all this stuff. Right now, we just got shirts.
Yeah.
ForAllNerds.com.
And sweatshirts.
And sweatshirts.
Yeah.
Tank tops coming for the summer, all that, But right now, it's shirts and sweatshirts. ForAllNerds.com. Thank you for supporting Black-owned businesses, Howard University's own. And we'll be back next week, or, probably less than next week by the time you hear this. Very soon, we'll be back with episode 3 of The Last of Us and The Lack of Us. We'll be back, look out for more special things, perhaps some interviews, all that good stuff. Who knows what's happening? But thank you.
Thank you.
We out of here.